Prime Minister has given a plea to business last night, James. He needs their help in achieving climate targets as well as advanced manufacturing and a few other points as well. What's your initial thoughts on his speech?
Well, in some respects, the relationship between big business and the Albanese government is very cosy. They're in a complete agreement on ramming the voice down the throats of the Australian people and trying to hoodwink them into supporting a risky, divisive change with no detail. They are on a unity ticket when it comes to record high levels of immigration, which they are trying to obscure from the Australian people. But they are at a fundamental disagreement on issues like industrial relations, which I think is a difference that is going to be very hard to bridge. Because what the Albanese government has a plan to do is massively re-regulate our labour market, make it much more inflexible and much less modern. And that is going to have very real implications for productivity and economic growth and eventually employment as well.
The Treasurer has already said that a GST rise and a drop in corporate tax is not in his plans. Do you think it should be to increase productivity?
Well, I think that tax reform, holistic tax reform that makes our tax system more efficient is, of course, something that we should always have a conversation about. But I deeply distrust Labor governments when it comes to tax. I don't believe that any change to the tax system, whether it's to company tax, GST, personal income tax or any other, wouldn't just be cover for a revenue-raising exercise. I mean, in his intergenerational report out this week, Jim Chalmers lays out a blueprint for lower growth and higher taxes. Now, if government spending, which seems to be the only plan that this government has to grow the economy, actually helped grow economies, well then Cuba and North Korea would be the richest economies in the world, but it doesn't and they're not. And so we actually do need genuine productivity enhancing reforms, which this government has no ideas at all about.
Okay, back to climate and this intergenerational report. It's forecasting the impacts of climate change are going to cost taxpayers $420 billion over the next 4 years. The costs, lost productivity, tourism, agricultural costs, etc. How concerned should we be about that?
Well, climate change is a serious challenge which the Liberal and National parties also take seriously, and that's why we're very open to exploring low emissions technology that is reliable and like nuclear power. They're the only ways you're going to realistically achieve the climate targets that this government has set out for our country, because we know that the intermittent increase in renewable energy is just driving up the costs for Australians' families. They are really struggling right now with the cost of living, and their electricity and gas and other energy bills are going through the roof. But the government, for ideological reasons, is just unwilling to consider a technology that is widely deployed in North America and Asia and Europe and all around the world, which is successfully bringing down emissions and providing that reliable baseload energy.